The fifth console generation was a very experimental time for video games. 2D games were a thing of the past, and the future of gaming in the third dimension was becoming more and more of a reality. Every company wanted to transition their efforts to 3D games, so they did. Some transformed their previously 2D characters to 3D, and others created entirely new characters for these new types of games in the hopes of creating a new mascot to rival the likes of Mario and Sonic. This late 90s trend created so many interesting characters like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Banjo-Kazooie, Gex, Glover, and Croc, which is the only one I've never heard anything about. I bought a lot of PS2 and PS1 games on Marketplace a while back, and this was one of those games, so I figured I'd give it a try and see if it's any good. Apparently it was made by Ubisoft, which is kinda weird because Rayman's been their mascot for the longest time and he was fairly popular, but rather than turning him from 2D to 3D, they made Croc. I know Rayman 2 came out a couple years after, but I think it's kinda odd that they didn't just do what Nintendo did and make Rayman into a 3D platformer, which kinda leads me to believe that this game won't be very good. If they ended up making a 3D platformer for Rayman in '99 anyways, then something tells me that this didn't do enough for them. I don't know, that's just a theory. A game theory. No, seriously though, I'm gonna play the game. Upon starting it up, it actually looks promising, and it's on point with other games of the era graphically, but Croc himself is honestly kinda lame. He's a very generic looking character. He lacks the attitude of Sonic, the expressiveness of Crash, and the wisecracking, badass nature of Gex. He's so bland. Mario doesn't have the most personality in 64, but he's frickin' Mario. He's already a gaming icon, and for a new character trying to stand out, there isn't much that makes him stand out, and it's disappointing. That doesn't make the game bad or anything, it just really would have helped the game succeed. With such a boring protagonist, it lacks that entire factor that could potentially draw people in. And speaking of lack of personality, this game's story. There's no dialogue, just a couple cutscenes here and there. We see these furry things, which I assume are called Gobbos, raise our main character, then it fast forwards to them getting kidnapped by this big bad dude, so we've got to save them. That's the plot. It's not bad, it's nothing special at all, but I don't expect much in terms of plot for a game like this, so I'll let it slide. Let's get to the gameplay itself, which feels similar to other lesser 3D platformers of the time. Forward and backward move you back and forth, and left and right turn you that direction. They don't move you. Muppet Monster Adventure did the same thing, and I didn't like it there, and big surprise, I hate it here too. I'll be using the original PS1 controller, not a DualShock, but the analog sticks don't make the movement any different. This way of controlling your character is horrible. I get it's an early 3D platformer, but Mario 64 didn't do this, neither did Crash Bandicoot, and both of them came out a year prior, so that's not valid. Spinning around and moving forward only when aimed in the right direction is so time-consuming, annoying, and clunky, it sucks. If you want to make a full 180, you can press circle, and you can sidestep using L1 and R1, which both make it better, but still not good. And to make things worse, he's only got a single jump, and it's so easy to misinterpret a distance. There are shadows, but sometimes you can't see them, especially when you're jumping to different elevations. Platforming is made even more difficult by a bad camera. You've hardly got any control over it. L2 and R2 will raise and lower it to a few different heights, which comes in handy, but you can't move it left and right, which can make traversing these worlds very difficult. It moves on its own, and for the most part it does a decent job at allowing you to see what's ahead, but sometimes it doesn't move with you, and it's pretty annoying. So, the gameplay is pretty damn flawed, and it doesn't really have any strengths, but you'll eventually get used to it. The most intriguing part of this game is its level design. Rather than the more open-world approaches many platformers of the time took, Croc goes for a more linear design and it works well for the game. With the lack of camera control, it's better to have levels that are more straightforward and take focus away from exploration. There are tons of things you can collect, but I honestly avoided just about every single one of them. The rewards for collecting are minimal, so why bother? With this linear approach to level design, the only way to properly challenge the player is with well-designed, creative sections, which this game is lacking. The sections are basic at best, but as one of the first 3D platformers, it's understandable to be more simple, as these things today were groundbreaking back then, so it's not really fair to bash the game for that. And that's not to say there's nothing creative here. There's some pretty decent sections, but nothing that really stood out to me. But that's probably due to the bland level themes as well. Grass, snow, desert, ooh, lava, nice. You know, this entire game is about as mundane and generic as a platform of this time could possibly be, and even after all I've said, I'd still consider the game to be okay, but these next couple things completely break the experience. The way the game goes about challenging the player is the most broken thing, and therefore why I refuse to call this game mediocre. All the broken things that exist in the gameplay are bothersome and will cause you to die fairly often. It will. You frack up one of your single jumps, go to attack an enemy a little too late, and attempt a double jump by pressing the X button twice, then ground pound into the oblivion because that is exactly what I wanted to do, and you get a game over. Yeah. Life system. 2 lives, that's it. Thankfully, you just restart the level and not the entire area, but this is still inexcusable. Some of the later levels are long and monotonous, and having to redo the entire thing when you die just a couple times is infuriating. And trying to cut corners to get back to where you were faster will probably end up getting you killed, so you've got to go through it slowly, but if you die toward the beginning, what's the point of continuing? If you know a later section is difficult and you'll need a lot of lives, why waste time getting back if you just have one attempt? You're better off killing yourself until you get a game over and then reloading the level. This is so annoying. A good platformer lets you retry these sections with relative relative ease. Even when there's a life system, your previous knowledge of the level should allow you to complete earlier sections easier and faster, but not here. You're just waiting and wasting time trying to attempt the part that's tripping you up, and it sucks. And it's not even that the challenges themselves are all that difficult. The problematic gameplay is what'll get you killed, not your lack of skill. It's so aggravating to get game overs when they aren't your fault. How about the boss fights? Are they any good? Well, how about I ask you this? Do you think waiting for that burrito you're heating up in the microwave is fun? If you do, you'll adore these fights. Seriously though, walk in circles until the enemy attacks, then spin at him, hit him 3 times and you win. Wasn't really expecting anything more, but come on. To say something positive, I think the early moments in the game are pretty decent, but that's mostly because the levels are shorter. As the game progresses and the difficulty increases, the quality of the experience decreases. But as that happens, you're getting more used to the controls, so there isn't really a time where the levels are manageable in length and you're comfortable with the controls. This game is just a mess, and it is so damn generic that it does not deserve to be played. Other platformers of the time, even though they suffered from similar flaws, would still arguably be worth picking up and playing. To experience the quirkiness of Glover's gameplay and the wit of Gex himself with incredibly creative level themes, that's why those games are worth going back to. Not because the gameplay is solid, but because they offer something unique and fun. They have character and a twist that makes them stand out from other games of the time. Croc is as generic as a game from this time could possibly be, and I'm genuinely unable to justify any of its flaws because it has so few redeeming qualities. There's so many better 3D platformers out there, even in this console generation. Play Gex, play Glover, play Crash Bandicoot, play Spyro the Dragon. I guarantee you'll have more fun with any of these. I didn't want to end the year with a video about a game I viewed negatively. I really didn't. I had high hopes for this one, but I was really let down. You know what though? As the insanity that is 2020 comes to a close, I want to be really open and genuine with you guys and say thank you. Guys, I started making YouTube videos again this June, and I've been really working hard to release stuff for you guys, and you've been watching, and this audience has been growing so much, I can't wrap my head around it, to be completely honest with you guys. Like, I had 43 when I came back, and I started doing shorts, and my channel's just exploded. At the time of recording this, I just broke 9,000. I was gonna thank you guys for 1,000, and then 2,000 came 3, and it's just been going crazy. I don't know how long this is gonna hold up, but I really can't believe it, and I cannot say thank you enough. You guys mean everything to me. It's so awesome to know there's people out there that care about what I have to say about old video games, about licensed games, about short topics, just all that kind of stuff. Just really, truly, thank you guys. Alright, I'm done talking. Happy holidays to all of you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in 2021.